Ballymena in Northern Ireland. Have you seen what's going on? Have you seen the troubles? Have you seen the rioting? I think there's been 3 nights of rioting now. Burnings. I think a leisure centre has been set fire to, multiple houses, cars, fighting with the police and the authorities. It's been kicking off incessantly. Politicians on both sides of the pond, both in Ireland, Northern Ireland, and across this side, have labelled the protagonists as far-right extremists, racists, etc., etc. But I'm just going to copy you into a video here. Watch this video, which is a report from a Northern Irish reporter called Doogie Beattie, who works for GB News. And he puts a very different slant on some of the background to this, not on the specifics and the sexual assaults and rapes that have kicked this off, but just on the general background to what's been going on, not just in Ballymena, but into many other areas of Northern Ireland, which potentially are sort of the tinderbox, and these recent rapes have just set fire to that. So watch this video, it's really interesting. It's about 1.5 minutes long, and then I'll come back and make some other comments.
Because of the protocol, we are not, we have no border. Europe controls our borders, and all the immigrants that came in through the Republic of Ireland came north. The Rwanda plan came, and they left Northern Ireland and went back into the Republic of Ireland. But then, of course, Keir Starmer did away with the Rwanda plan, and then we've had a massive influx of migrants looking to be part of the UK, because, of course, they'll get all the same benefits as the rest of the UK. And when they get to Northern Ireland, they can travel with no passport straight into England, Scotland and Wales. So being in Northern Ireland is a great advantage. But what has happened is the private landlords make up about 25% of our social housing. Now, there's a group called Mears, I'm sure you have groups exactly the same that look after migrant costs and housing. And what has happened is Mears has offered all the private landlords twice the rents in order to keep these migrants, because of course the government is giving them the big money to get them out of the hotels. So what is happening is all the people of Ballymena that lived here, born here, actually can't get housed here, and that too is causing friction in this area. And not only can they not get housed here, if landlords are getting £2,000 a month for a house, then every house in the street goes for £2,000, whether there's migrants in them or not. And that is pushing the young people out of this area. It's changing the culture of this area, and this is happening right across Northern Ireland.
What do you think? Interesting, eh? So what he's essentially saying is that the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland is controlled by EU border officials, by the Republic of Ireland and the Republic of Ireland's border officials, not by British border officials. And therefore, essentially, there's pretty much free movement backwards and forwards across that border. And what happened was that any migrants that were in Northern Ireland, when the Tories brought in the Rwanda policy, because they didn't want to get deported to Rwanda, they all legged it, or a lot of them, large numbers of them, legged it across the border to the Republic of Ireland. And obviously the Republic of Ireland is also bringing in an awful lot of migrants of its own. However, when the Labour Party came into power about a year or so ago and they'd done away with the Rwanda policy, there was no longer any deterrent factor for the migrants to be into Northern Ireland. And so they all crossed the border back from Republic of Ireland into Northern Ireland, as well as many of the ones that have been deposited in Republic of Ireland just also across the border into Northern Ireland. Because once they're there, they can do one of two things. They can set up home in Northern Ireland and start to claim the benefits of living effectively in the United Kingdom, or even simpler, they can then get on ferries and so on and cross into mainland England and Wales and Scotland. But the ones that have set up home, basically there are charitable housing trusts, a little bit like Serco have now been given the contract to do here, that are paying very high rents and have won the contract from the government to house these migrants in towns like Ballymena. And they're paying huge amounts of money to the private landlords and very, very good contracts to the private landlords to enable them to do that. And so the private landlords, treacherous though it is, are throwing out local people and housing migrants because they're making huge profits from it. So local people, particularly younger local people, are having to move home, are having to leave the towns they grew up in and are born in and live in because they can't find any housing. And even the ones that remain, their rents inevitably are getting pushed up to match the other rents, and so they're paying fortunes. So there's a huge amount of disgruntlement, a huge amount of anger at the people that have been deposited in their area and the repercussions it's having on their society. When you're then getting also a rise in crime, when you're then also getting things like sexual assaults and rapes, it just adds to that anger. And so you only need a spark to set fire to it. And that is exactly what has happened. So don't get me wrong, I'm not condoning rioting. I'm not condoning attacks on people who may be innocent people. I'm absolutely not condoning things like burning houses and burning leisure centres. But you have to understand the background to it. You have to understand the reasons for it. You have to understand what has led up to it. It's not just a one-off incident. This has been building and building and building, and it's a direct result of government policy. It's a direct result of the numbers of people that have been dumped in these communities. And it's not just Ballymena. It's many, many, many other towns in and around Northern Ireland. And if it's happening in Northern Ireland, very soon it'll be happening in England as well. It's coming. And it's a real massive shame, but it's a direct result of not just this government's policy, but of EU policy, of non-governmental organisations policies, of UN policies. It's happening in LA as we speak, in the United States. It's happening across the entire Western world, and the governments are facilitating it.